Email marketing is one of the most important things that you can do in your business to increase sales and maximize the value of your leads, which ultimately is going to maximize your return on ad spend. If you are paying for leads particularly, you want to make sure to nurture them as much as possible so that you can close those deals. I can't tell you how many times I've had people that opt in that won't end up working with me until a year, 2 years, even more than 2 years later. So the moral of the story is do not give up on your leads. Make sure that you are constantly staying top of mind and giving them the opportunity to continue to take that next step if they have not done so already. So in this training, I'm going to be covering everything that you need to know about email marketing to go ahead and start to improve deliverability, as well as get you that content plan that is going to make email marketing easier for you. That is one of the biggest issues that I hear people talking about when it comes to email marketing, is that they simply do not know what to say. So we're going to make sure that that is no longer an objection. So the first thing that we're going to cover is email deliverability. This is something I never set out to learn much about. It's something that I ended up having to learn quite a bit about because my own email deliverability had a massive issue at one point, and I had to figure out what was going on and how to remedy that. So we'll talk through those basic steps that you need to implement to improve your deliverability and how to protect yourself moving forward. We'll also talk about how to just send to the most engaged contacts, how to scrub your list, how to use email testing tools, what the content flywheel emails actually look like, which will be your email content schedule. We'll talk about UTM parameters and driving conversions. Email deliverability is one of those things that isn't ultimately very sexy, but it is very necessary. Truth be told, people don't really talk about this too much in the marketing space, but it's critical to getting your message to hit that inbox. So when I was launching this mastermind group, I came across my email stats and I was very concerned. So I had almost a 55% error rate on my emails. This was something that had just started happening. I didn't know why it was happening, and it happened at the most inopportune time when I was launching a brand new offer. So in that process, I had to really understand why this was happening from a technical perspective, how to fix it, and how to try and prevent this from happening again moving forward. So at the end of the day, my offer still launched and I was able to, get the job done, but I know that there were a lot of opportunities that I missed out on because of that significant deliverability issue. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is your records. So your DNS records are very important. This is something that a lot of people get kind of overwhelmed with if they need to go into their DNS records. This is something that you do in the registrar that you use to purchase your domain. So that could be something like GoDaddy or Namecheap. There's a lot of other ones out there, but wherever your registrar is, that's where your DNS records are going to be located. You need to make sure that you have a DMARC record, a DKIM record, and an SPF record for your sending domain. So the link that I've put at the bottom of this page is a pretty all-encompassing article on how to set those up. I plan on doing another training all about that, mainly because it is something that people get very anxious about when it comes to diving into those DNS records. They worry that they're going to significantly damage something, but if you follow along in that article, you are going to be able to get those records installed. This is also something that you don't necessarily have to do yourself, but you do need to know what these are and that you need them so that you can delegate that to whoever is working on your website or your tech. You can say, hey, I need to make sure that we have a DMARC, DKIM, and SPF record on our sending domain. Please check that. If we do not have that, let me know, and then go ahead and implement those. You really do want to try and send the bulk of your emails to your most regularly engaged contacts. This is going to just improve your overall deliverability because you are going to have a more engaged list, and your email providers that you're sending to are going to say, hey, people like these emails, people are opening these emails, people are clicking these emails, so they must not be spam emails. They must be valuable emails. You also want to make sure you scrub your list. If you are sending emails to a bad list, you have a lot of bounces, that is also going to decrease your score essentially in the eyes of these different email service providers. We also want to use things like email testing tools to make sure that the email subject lines that we're using and the content in those emails don't sound spammy. That is also going to degrade your score. So the challenge with email deliverability is that truthfully, we are dealing with a moving target. The way that these email providers work is constantly changing. The way they do things and what they're looking for, it does change. So email marketing is something that you really need to understand is not a task that gets done. It's something that is constantly being done, constantly refined and improved and adjusted to not only the messaging that's working best, but the technical elements of how to increase deliverability of your emails to ensure that your list is getting that message at all. You could spend quite a lot of time crafting email campaigns that not enough people are going to see if you don't really focus on your email deliverability. So we're going to talk about a couple of tools that you can use. The first one is mxtoolbox.com. This is a really great tool to be able to, number one, check your overall email deliverability health. It'll check your domain health, that domain that you are sending from. It will check to see, do you have a DMARC record? It will also check to see if you are on a blacklist. This is really, really important because if your domain has been blacklisted, you need to take steps to remedy that. You need to be able to reverse course. That might mean getting a new sending domain. It might not, but you definitely need to know about that so that you are taking the steps that it requires. It's also going to be able to look up your MX records and a lot of other things. So great tool. Make sure that you are using MX Toolbox to check the health of your sending domain. You can also use sendcheckit.com to test your email subject lines. This is going to, again, improve overall deliverability if you're getting higher open rates. That means that your emails are being well received by the people getting them, and that information is then, transferred essentially to those email service providers so that they can see, yes, these are valuable, these are not spammy. The email subject line is the single most important piece of your email outside of the deliverability and the domain health, because if you have a crappy subject line, the email never gets opened. And if the email never gets opened, the message never gets seen. If the message never gets seen, it's never going to be acted on. And then you're really just wasting your time. So you've got to focus on email subject lines. I do have another training on email subject lines, different ideas, different ways that you can structure those to get better open rates. But for now, this is a great tool that you can check out. You also can test the spamminess of your emails at mail-tester.com. Again, very important that your emails do not sound spammy. There are certain keywords and trigger words that these email systems are looking for to determine if your emails are spammy. So this is a great way to identify if you've got any of that in your emails before you invest a lot of time in sending those out. So the next one is Zero Bounce. So Zero Bounce is an email validation service. Email validation is really important because, again, if you have invalid emails, if you have information that is bouncing, whether it's a hard bounce or a soft bounce, it is going to hurt your overall sending domain health, which is going to hurt your email deliverability. So you can use Zero Bounce for free, and it's definitely a top tier tool. You also can use the checker.co. This is also very, very similar to the one we just looked at, but this is an alternative. It does add some additional features in there. Another one that you can use is voilanorbert.com. This is a service that is going to enrich your email list data with things like job title, company, location, social profiles, the actual name of the person if you don't have their name. So you're taking an existing email list and you're saying, hey, find the rest of the information that goes along with it. So you can see just from the screenshot, 500 emails is going to be about $20. I believe they have a plan that 500 or 5,000 emails is like $100. It's really not very expensive, and you could use this for appointment setters. You also can use this for your custom audiences in social media advertising. And that enrichment of the data is going to help make sure you have got that right person on the other end seeing your ad. So now let's talk a little bit about the content flywheel. So the content flywheel is something that I do. It's something that my coach introduced me to. He really encouraged me to start emailing a lot more heavily a couple of years ago. So I had an incident where my Facebook business manager was hacked. And this was a really severe hack. So they kicked me out of the account. They logged in, they removed me as admin. They were able to get into all of our ad accounts essentially and spent a tremendous amount of money really, really quickly. And that was, a big issue for me because all of my accounts were there, and it required that I had to do a couple of things. Number one, I was trying to get it solved right away. It was taking up quite a bit of my time. My ad stopped running, of course. I did have backup accounts, but I had to completely redo everything, mainly because my pixel was not able to be utilized in those other accounts. And I was running conversion campaigns, which you can't really do without your pixel. And so it changed a lot for me, and it kind of paused my paid advertising for I think maybe a month or two before I finally said, okay, I'm going to stop waiting on Facebook to actually get this done. I'm going to make sure that this never happens again, but I'm also just going to proceed in whatever way I can proceed. So this first shows the importance of an email list in general, because had I not had an email list, I would not have had a way to create those custom audiences in my new ad accounts really quickly. It also would not have allowed me to email my list and continue to market to my warmest audience. So what I did was, while I was going through that process, I said, okay, email's really all I can do right now outside of Facebook and Instagram ads. I had a couple of other things running, but I was spending the majority of my advertising spend on Facebook and Instagram. And so I just got really serious about email. And what do you know? We actually had one of our best months ever. And even more than that, I had my highest ROI month up until that point that month. Why? Because I wasn't spending a huge amount of money on advertising like I normally do. I was taking the results that my previous advertising had already produced, and I was cashing in on it. So that's not to say that you should rely on email alone and not worry about your ads, but it is a safeguard. If you do not have an email list to lean on, if things are shut down or hacked or things change significantly, you're going to be in a far worse position than somebody who has an email list, and particularly one that's been warmed up already. You don't want to just start blasting people hardcore if you've never really been emailing them prior. You need to make sure that they're warmed up to it. That way it's going to be a lot more well received. And again, you're not going to get as many spam complaints and things like that will lower your email deliverability. So that was when I finally said, wow, you're right, this works. Previously, I had been hesitant to email as much as my coach had encouraged me to email because it felt like a lot. It also felt really time consuming. But I realized in that moment that this was one of the highest priority tasks I personally could be doing. We'll talk about some of the content and, should you delegate it, should you not, all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, these are your babies. These should really be reflecting you. And this is something that I feel is very beneficial for the owner to do themselves. So let's talk a little bit about the content flywheel. So the fortune is in the follow-up. I'm sure almost all of you have heard that. Yet the question is, are you really putting that into practice? Are you making your fortune in the follow-up? Or are you saying, somebody opts in, we're going to hit them with an automated sequence for a week or two. If they don't respond, that's that. We're not really focusing on them after the fact. So you need to actually practice what you know to be true, which is that the more follow-up you do and the better your follow-up is, the more money your business is going to make. The truth is, people aren't just going to buy when you want to make the sale. They're going to buy when they're ready. And that's where nurture comes in. So many times somebody is potentially qualified for what you do. They're the right avatar. They have the right assets or needs or desires or problems that you solve, but maybe for whatever reason, it's not a good time. They're in the middle of some sort of transition. They've already made some other significant investments and don't have the cash flow. There's just a lot of reasons that somebody may not be ready. And that means they may not act on the next step because they probably know there's going to be an investment involved if they do. So what you need to do is be there consistently until they are ready. If you don't, someone else will be. And when that timing is finally perfect, they are going to lean towards the easiest option. And that easiest option is typically going to be the person who's been showing up in their inbox, delivering value, and giving them an easy next step to take when that time comes. Leads do not become customers, prospects do. You don't take a completely cold lead and close them without some sort of indoctrination. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move forward. That can happen really quickly, but you need them to actually be a prospect as opposed to just a lead, someone who's just given their contact info and that's it. So this is what we're doing through our content flywheels. We're creating more prospects from our list of leads. Prospects buy because they know, like, and trust you. Obviously, that's something you've probably heard before. But again, the question is, are you actually implementing that information into your business? Email marketing is one of the single best ways to get your leads to become prospects and get those prospects to know, like, and trust you. So a really great metaphor is just walking up to somebody on the street and saying, hey, will you marry me? Without asking them to go to coffee first. You need to be slowly dripping things on people. You cannot expect them to go from 0 to 100 overnight. There are the rare exceptions where people will do that, but you cannot base your marketing efforts around those rare exceptions. You need to make sure that you are doing what is necessary for the majority of your leads. So one thing you really want to make sure you're including in your email marketing is affinity hooks. We want to make sure that we are framing this relationship in the right way. We want to get personal. Again, this is your opportunity to get your leads to become prospects and those prospects to know, like, and trust you. So start incorporating some of these pieces of information throughout your content. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? Do you have brothers, sisters? What are your parents like? Where'd you go to college? Did you go to college? Are you married, single, divorced? What are some other things that friends might know about you that you can share with your email list? This is something that not enough people are actually doing. They see their email list as a way to just kind of hammer home the information maybe they think that will educate people, or they're just blasting out offers. They're not sprinkling enough of themselves into their emails. Some additional info is, how did you get here? What are you doing right now? What are the things that are going on in your business? What did you do before? What did you observe? What wasn't working? What did you decide to do about that? What successes have you had? What makes you credible? What failures have you had? What makes you human? These are things that need to be sprinkled throughout all of your email content if possible. So building affinity is kind of like Chinese water torture. We are just going to sprinkle it constantly. It's not something that you just dump on somebody once and expect that to be enough. You need to make it a regular part of your communications. And then you're going to be really surprised to find that you'll meet people in person who are on your email list, and they will know a lot of details about you. That brings someone closer to you when they feel like they really know you, they know your story, they know what you care about, they know what you don't like. Those things will pull people towards you. So the more that you can sprinkle in those affinity hooks, you are going to find that it will make closing the sale also much easier once that person takes the next step. You can also talk about, why are you doing this? What drives you to do what you're doing? What are your beliefs about how whatever it is that you do should be done? What is that core belief that drives you in your life or in your business? What do you stand for? What does your company stand for? What does your company stand against? Who do you want to attract and who do you want to repel? So I have a really awesome training on polarity as a business owner. I think this is something that everybody could do more of. And I used to think that I wasn't polarizing whatsoever. I said, I don't want to be polarizing for the sake of being polarizing, but I didn't know what about me was polarizing. Then 2020 happened, and I was very vocal about the fact that local businesses should not be closed. I was very vocal about the fact that I thought it was crazy that strip clubs stayed open, but churches were forced to be closed, and all of the insanity that we were seeing from these huge corporate oligarchs that were basically imposing their will on the entire country, hurting local businesses, which hurts local communities, which hurts local families, which hurts just the average everyday person. So it was something that I felt so strongly about. It obviously tied directly into my mission of serving local businesses, of really empowering local businesses to continue to thrive and stand against these big box retailers or chains or these large corporations, giving the mom and pops the ability to stand on their own 2 feet. So that's something I simply started talking about because I believed it, because I cared about it. And I realized through that process was that my simply, held beliefs, my personal beliefs, that is what made me polarizing. I never really thought about it like that. I never started talking about those things to become polarizing. But the more that I would talk about my stances on political issues, obviously tying them back to what I do as much as possible, but sometimes just talking about it because it was something that riled me up or that I was very passionate about. Also, doing it in the right way is obviously really important. That's where that polarity training comes in. I go through the ways to do it most effectively so that you do attract those people that are really on your team, and maybe you just repel the people that you simply don't want to work with anyway. We can never make everyone happy regardless. So I would rather have people that are very much in favor of me as opposed to a lot of people who are just lukewarm about me. Give people a reason to see that you have some spirit behind you, that you are a real person with a real business, and that you are passionate about a lot of different things outside of business. That's only one aspect of who we are. So you need to start sprinkling those things in there, because the people that you are trying to sell to, whatever it is you're selling, they care about a lot of other things outside of just that. If you are selling B2B, the people that you're selling to, business is not their only interest. They care about their families. They care about their communities. A lot of them care about their mental, physical, spiritual journeys, and you can connect with them in that way. So definitely check out that training if you haven't already. I've got a podcast on it. I've got a YouTube video on it. But that's something that you also need to be sprinkling into your email marketing. So you, more than anything else, need to also make sure that you're not just talking about the personal details, that you are creating value and you are making offers. So this is a balance that needs to be hit. You have got to have the human content mixed with the value content mixed with the offer content. So value could be things like blog posts, videos, maybe it's third-party content endorsing you, interviews or articles. It could simply be other people's content, video, or resources. It doesn't even have to be created by you. You don't have to claim that you created it. You can say, hey, I came across this article, thought it was amazing at explaining XYZ, thought you could really benefit, hope it helps. That is you introducing that person to a piece of helpful information. If they consume that information and they're like, wow, that was really amazing, they're going to remember who shared that with them, okay? And they will simply trust you more for it. It does position you in a much better light. If you really look at a lot of different accounts online, like themed accounts, you'll see that a ton of what they do is just like repurposing other people's content. And they're, again, giving credit to the person who did it, but it's a curation. So you can have email content that's curated that is going to serve as some of your value content if you don't feel like you have a ton yourself. Granted, you should be focusing on creating content yourself, but that doesn't mean that you have to spend hours upon hours upon hours every single month doing this. You can also leverage other people's content. Another thing that you can share is things that you find, resources, softwares, tools, things that others would simply find beneficial. Does not have to be life-changing information, but it should be something that you genuinely find benefit in, and others are going to do the same. So what you want to do is you want to brainstorm your content. You want to make a list of all of the content that you have. So that could be, again, blog posts, videos, lead magnets, endorsements, presentations, credibility pieces, things you've been featured in. There are a lot of different things that all of us could have. This is also a great exercise. If you don't have a lot of content, it's really going to show you, wow, I don't have a lot. I need to actively focus on that more. You could take 1 hour a week and really make significant strides in this. It's going to improve your email strategy, which is going to help you get more prospects to become paying customers, which would obviously help your ROI, but it's also going to help your organic social channels as well. So things that I could use are like a digital marketer blog post I was featured in. I was on the social media marketing podcast multiple times. I can use those different interviews because they're great interviews. I drop so much knowledge, but it's, highly credible. It's one of the top marketing podcasts in the entire world. And I've been on it 3-4 times maybe. I've been featured in Forbes. I have an endorsement from Molly Pittman. I have one from Mike Stelzner, among other people that are really well respected. Those are great pieces. I've been on the Perpetual Traffic podcast, which is also very well recognized in the marketing space. I've been a speaker at Social Media Marketing World multiple times, Traffic and Conversion Summit multiple times. These are all assets that I have. But even outside of that, I just have YouTube videos that I make. I have Instagram Reels sometimes that I will make that are talking about a new update on Facebook Business Manager, or talking about, an article that I read and getting people's input on it. So take those assets that you're creating and make a list, like really get an audit of what you've got. Then what we want to do is start to pair those with offers. So offers can be gated content offers or lead magnets. They can also be, just a booking. So getting someone to schedule, whether that's a phone call, a Zoom call, or an in-home estimate or an in-person appointment, whatever that may be. And then also you can focus specifically on your actual offers. So I have Local Marketing Mastery, which is my 12-month mentorship. I have the Expert Class Mastermind. I have, hands-off, done-for-you setup packages, among other things. But the step to enroll in those is all the same. It's scheduling a call. So number one, we can make sure it's a good fit for us. It's a good fit for you, that you fully understand everything. And that is our sales process. So I could have emails that focus on the details of each one of those offers, or I could have content that simply directs people to schedule that call so we can see what that best fit is for them. It also could be other people's products if you want to promote others, and then referral offers potentially that they can sign up to. Really just kind of depends on what you do. So I was working with a compounding pharmacy, and they had a lot of affiliate offers that they could be promoting. These are things that they believe in, products that could really help their consumers. And yeah, they'd get a little financial kickback if somebody buys. It's not something that is the core of their business, but it's another revenue stream for them. And so incorporating that into their email strategy is a really simple way for them to add additional income, but it's also a really great way to help the people who are getting those products, because again, these are things they really believe in. They're not just doing it for the money. The most important thing that you can do, though, again, is matching your offer and your content. So if you have a blog post, what is the natural next step for something like that? What are you talking about in the blog post? What would be a nice lead into it? Maybe it could be something like my Facebook ads jumpstart pack. If I was talking about the social media marketing podcast, I could do the KPI calculator workbook. I could do the offer creation workbook. I could do my Facebook ads course, local marketing mastery, my mastermind, my done for you setup packages. You really just want to pair that value piece with the offer. So you can do that in a couple of ways. You can put that information directly in the email, but at the end of the day, the content itself shouldn't really be centered around the offer. If it's a content focused email, it needs to either be that next email, that email the day following it, or you could have a call to action button below the piece of content. So on a lot of my videos, I embed them on a page on my website, and there is a button to schedule a call below the content piece. So it's a YouTube video, but I'll plug in the YouTube video into this specific page. They're still watching the YouTube video, but instead of watching it with a lot of other distractions around, they're just watching it on this page, and there's a call to action button below it. And people convert to calls or appointments from that button, from that piece of content. But I'm not promoting that necessarily in the piece of content itself. It's just going to be on the page that I'm directing them to. And it's not going to be the core focal point, but that's another way that you can do it. So again, what happens if you don't have any content? You definitely need to get in the process of creating it, but this could be focused on what are the problems that your prospects have that you solve? What are their desires? What are the beliefs and the principles that you support? Things we talked about before can be something that's related to your industry, that's, current events going on in the world. How can you tie that in? It could be success stories, case studies, stories alone, a day in the life type of things. So stories are one of my favorite way to utilize my email list. I try and simply take things from my daily life and incorporate that into my email marketing. So I had a really, really popular email not too long ago that was just a story about, my day, what my schedule looked like. I talked about the fact that I, woke up in bed without the alarm. I grabbed my baby from the bassinet and started snuggling with them. And then my 6-year-old walks in with her hair a mess, and we just laid in bed and cuddled until 9. I got up, I did my workout at my own pace, started working about 11. Then I wrapped up around 4. Me and my daughter, flew kites together in the yard, and just talking about the freedom that I've been able to find in my life because of my business. So that's a great story. That's also like a day in the life as well. So these don't have to be things that you really work too hard at doing, but you need to have it at the top of your mind. If you're playing with your kids and you learn this life lesson, this little lesson, which I think if you're a parent, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It happens all the time. Take those things and utilize them in your email content. Whatever it is, there is a story or a lesson that can be told if you're simply looking for it. So just keep those things top of mind, and your content is going to come to you a lot more easily. So our weekly schedule, what could this look like? And this could be something that you shift a little bit. I actually do a lot more emails on Friday than I do on Saturdays. But again, you can take this and kind of make it your own. But this is a good example of a weekly broadcast schedule. So Monday could be angle to schedule. Tuesday could be angle to content. Wednesday, angle to results. Thursday, angle to offer. And then Friday or Saturday, you could do something that is asking for a response. You could do a week in review type of summary, or you could take one of the emails that worked well earlier in the week and you could send them to the people who didn't open it, on that next day. So there are a lot of different things that you can do. Maybe you've got, an extra piece of content that you want to promote, go for it. So at least 4 emails a week is really the goal. I think no less than 3 emails per week. So 3 to 5 is really what you're shooting for. And trust me, it's not going to hurt you. Yes, you're going to get people that unsubscribe, but that's okay. I'd rather have people unsubscribe and actually be reading my emails, this other group, and acting on them, than not sending emails and not getting schedules and not making sales and having no one unsubscribe. So you have to get over your fear of people unsubscribing. It just doesn't matter that much. They can always opt back in the future. You also want to make sure you've got a monthly planning template. So you don't have to do this as like a rigid plan. This can be dynamic, but it is great if you do have a planning template. That way your team can be pulling things for you, or it just isn't going to be too hard for you to decide what needs to be done because you've already got this outline for yourself. For me, things, really kind of come up more on the fly in my daily life. I like to keep it current. So I will reuse things from the past. So some of my angle to schedule that have worked well in the past, I'll repurpose those. I'll repurpose my angle to results or my angle to content. My storytelling stuff, I try and keep that, very current to my life. That's a way that my audience can really plug into me, see what's going on with, my farm that we bought, homeschooling my daughter, just, a lot of different things that I'm learning. I'm about to start a garden for the first time. We're about to have farm animals, all these different things that maybe aren't directly related to my business, but they are related to my life and who I am as a person. And it's also something that, again, can be aspirational for people on the other end. Maybe you don't see it as a big deal, but other people are like, man, I really wish I could do that. I would love for you to show me how to do that. How can I do the things that you have done? Whether, again, it doesn't have to be a financial thing. I have so many people when they learn that I bought, a 61-acre farm and we're, starting this homestead from the ground up. They're like, oh my gosh, that's my dream. I would love to do that. I'm so jealous. And for me, it wasn't something I do to like impress other people. It's something that matters to me. But I have found that those are some of my most effective pieces of content because people they really love that, and a lot of people want to do that and they haven't done it. So they can kind of live vicariously through others and also see that it's possible. We also have a daily planning and scheduling template. This can allow you to plan out your subject lines, get your image links, have your copy document, and it will automatically build your UTM parameters, which is great. If you use your UTM parameters in your button URLs, in your emails, or in your hyperlink text, you will be able to see specifically which emails are driving the majority of your bookings or your sales. That's critical. You don't just want to track open rates and click-through rates. You want to track how many people actually took that next step. So daily results template, this is another thing that's very important to keep up with, because if you are keeping a close eye on what are the subject lines, how many were delivered, how many failed, what are the click-through rates, are people unsubscribing, are people opting out, are people marking it as spam, all of those things, like how many calls were booked. You want to be tracking that. That way, if you want to repurpose emails in the future, you're repurposing the good emails, not the bad emails. If you're not keeping up with that, you're just simply not going to know. The more email content you create, the easier it will be to repurpose in the future, which just means that you're not going to have to spend as much time. I probably spend about, maybe an hour and 15 per week on my email marketing. And I'm able to email between 3 and 5 times a week. I write all of my emails myself. I do not delegate this because this is something that I want to be from me. I want people to want to stay on this. And if this is something I'm delegating to someone else, it's not going to sound like me, number one. And it's also going to be something that I'm going to have to review anyway. I'm going to end up spending time on it anyway. So I would just rather do it. I take photos from my camera roll and I airdrop them to my computer, plug it in, I write my content, bada bing, bada boom, it's done. And it does not have to be super time consuming. But again, the ability to repurpose is going to be great. And you won't know what to repurpose if you're not keeping up with your stats. If there is a major change in your results, you also want to see exactly when it happened. So that's critical. So what could an angle to schedule look like? This is an email that I wrote about the Kentucky Derby, and I tied the concept of, betting on horses without a strategy to betting on our marketing without a strategy. So I'm driving them to check out my mentorship programs to get a strategy and schedule a call. We also do simple ones that appear to be from my salespeople. They're like, hey, I've got a couple of open spots this week. Want to grab one? We do a screenshot of their calendar and just, show the open spots. So really, really simple and easy to do. I do a lot of storytelling in my angle to schedule. So Tuesday could be angle to content. So this example is going to be my podcast. I did a great podcast with Anika Harris on Instagram Reels. So I'm promoting that. I'm sending them to my video on YouTube. That is the video version of the podcast, but I'll also have podcasts embedded on a page on my site that I will drive people to as well to get them to subscribe. I also have another video that is just me doing a training on the automated small business sales process. So I am telling them what's going to be in the video, and then I'm giving them the link to the video and saying, hey, if you're looking to do X, Y, and Z, check this out. Wednesday, we've got angle to results. So I will do testimonials. I'll do case studies from my students. I will also do screenshots of their successes. So one, I had a new mastermind student that said, I've sold 20,000 from 2 live events and our agent sold 7,000. We've worked our way into the live event workflows and it seems to be working so well. So that is just an organic message from one of my mastermind students who's saying, hey, you got me on this strategy. We just started doing it. 27,000 closed already, and I'm hyped. That's something that the audience wants to see. They don't want something that's high production value from testimonials. They want to see this is real stuff that is coming from real people and what those results are. That is going to be one of the best things that will drive bookings and sales. But it doesn't have to be a video. It doesn't have to be a screenshot. You could just be talking about it, telling what that, before you worked with them or before they bought your thing, and then what is life like after. So Thursday could be angle to offer. Couple examples, gated content. So, hey, here's my Facebook ads jumpstart pack. Go ahead and grab that. Another one could be, hey, here's my local lead generation masterclass. It's only $47. It comes with XYZ. Grab that. Another one could be, hey, want to check out exactly what Local Marketing Mastery can do for you? Go to alliebloyd.com/opt-in, and you're going to see exactly who this is for, how we do it, and if this is going to be a good fit. So it could be a variety of things, gated content offers, tripwires, as well as your product preview offers. Again, Friday and Saturday, you could do a roundup of some of the best info from the week. You could do another content-focused email, or you could do an angle to response. So asking them for their feedback. What do you want to see more of? Or, comment this if you're struggling with XYZ. A lot of different things that you could do there, or you could take those popular emails and then send them to the group that did not open them that week. So there's a lot more that we can cover regarding email marketing. I'm going to be doing another one of these on additional tips to improve your copywriting in your emails, better plans for scheduling out those emails, and a lot of other really juicy details that I know you're going to love. But I think this is a great start, really focusing on the deliverability and what the heck do you talk about? What should that email schedule actually look like? So hopefully this has been helpful. I am really excited to help you get your email marketing on track. So if there is any additional content related to email marketing that you would love to see or hear, definitely reach out. Let us know. We want to take that feedback and create more content based on what you are specifically looking for or struggling with. So thanks so much for watching or listening, and I hope to see you back on the next one. Bye-bye.